Okay, so once the outline of your hand is done, it is time to start shading. There's a couple of things that I want you guys to review and think about as you get started. So we know that value is the lightness and darkness of a color, and that's what starts to make our drawings look as if they are more three-dimensional and realistic, okay? So what I would like you to do in your sketchbook is to create a value scale. And we are just going to do a 5-point value scale. So it can be anywhere on your sketchbook, some like on your practice pages like mine is here. But what you are going to do is you are going to create a little rectangle, okay? Doesn't need to be super huge. And I'm actually gonna zoom in on this spot so you can see it just a little bit more. Okay, all right, so then what I want you to do is just divide it up into 1, 2, 3, 5-ish equal sections. It's okay if it's a little bit off. And what I would like you to do is you're going to start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 is going to be the lightest value, 5 is going to be the darkest value. So what I would do is I would start here with number 5, and I'm going to press as hard as I can with my pencil. Notice there are pretty much no white spaces back behind that paper. So when I say white spaces, I'm keeping my pencil marks close together. So even right here, if I am pressing hard, there's still white spaces. So you want to make sure when you are doing this that you practice good pencil control, which means there's not going to be any white spaces, okay? All right, so then the next one is going to be a little bit lighter. So that means I am going to apply less pressure with my pencil, but once again, it is still even. All right, and I might have to go over it a couple of times to get the right pressure, but notice there is a difference between 5 and 4. Then you're going to keep going. So 3 is going to be a little bit lighter. And you'll keep going down the line until you get to 2 to 1, okay? If you happen to make a color too dark, just take your eraser and go back into that, okay? So let me just quickly finish this up. All right, so there's a distinct difference from each one of those values, okay? So this is what you need to do first. Then we can start to begin to shade our hand. Now the reason why we did 5 values is because on your hand drawing, you need to have at least 5 values of shading that's occurring on here. Okay, so before we start on that, we talked about when we were making fingers that they're very close to a cylinder shape. So I'm going to show you an image of a cylinder shape here. Hopefully you can see it okay. But remember, this is basically the shape of what our fingers are. Okay, but you can see that the cylinder shape it's rounded and curved around. So what I would encourage you to practice doing is before you start shading in your fingers, draw a cylinder by making a little ellipse. And then lines go straight down like this. And then we do kind of a smiley face, okay, of a curved line here. An ellipse should not look like this. Or a cylinder, there should not be corners in it, okay? Everything should be rounded. So if I'm picking where my light source is coming from, I'm gonna pick my light source coming from here. That means that the shadow is going to go this way because the light is reflecting this way. And this side's going to be the lightest. So I'm going to use my 1s and 2s over here. And then as I go to this direction, it's going to go to my darker shades, okay? So as I'm doing this though, I am shading this in with the shape of the cylinder. I'm not going up and down. I'm doing my pencil marks in a curved mark because that's the direction in which the cylinder is. Okay, so I start light. And then as I go over, it's gonna get a little bit darker. But then because this is a three-dimensional shape that's curving around, might have a little bit of a highlight. So it might go light again before it goes dark. Okay, so you can see in here that some of these areas have really, really smooth transitions. Some of them need a little bit of smoothing out, so you could take your finger and kind of do that a little bit. But then you need to treat the top part differently. So we're not shading it in all the same. I'm using the shape of this ellipse, and I'm gonna go super light to dark this way. And then I can fill in my shadows, super dark. And then we have a little bit of a cylinder shape. Your fingers are basically cylinders, okay? So you're gonna practice this type of shading as you go into start shading in your fingers, okay? So let's go back to this drawing here. And what you are going to do is that is what you are going to practice, okay? Maybe keep your value scale handy, keep your cylinders on hand as you start to draw. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure you can see enough. So as you begin to shade, determine where the light is coming from and start capturing those details. In the direction, there should be light and dark areas using those 5 values everywhere throughout your fingers. That is what is going to make it look like it is 3-dimensional, okay? So I'm just gonna speed this part of the video up so you can see me working a little bit, and then you'll be able to get to work. Okay, so you can see that I have a little bit more done here, but as I've started going into each finger, I'm treating them all differently in those cylinder shapes, trying to go in the direction of them, okay? So good luck, and let me know if you have any questions as you get started.